light the fire. You place the fire.
I'm Alexandra, follow me. I am 25. I have a university degree in communications and English. I then did a postgrad degree in public relations, and I now work at a public relations agency working in their healthcare space.
My name is Trevor Foster. I'm 27 years old. I got my undergrad degree in business from University of Guelph back in 2007, 2008, and then worked for a bit, took a couple years off, went back to grad school in Ottawa, and got my graduate degree in public policy, School of Government. And for the last 7 or 8 months or so, I've been working in healthcare research.
My name is Christine. I'm 25 years old, and I got my undergrad from McGill in political science and international development, and then went on to a master's at the University of Ottawa and graduated 2 years ago with a master's in public and international affairs. Since then I've worked for about a year and a half for the Canadian government, and now I'm actually doing some consulting work in Toronto.
For hours and hours while
So I lived downtown where I work for about 2 years, and then I actually just moved home to Mississauga to start saving money because I wasn't able to do that living away.
So right now I'm living with my girlfriend. We're at Yonge and Eglinton. So it's sort of one of those very sort of starter-esque apartments where, it's like you learn that you can't turn on the like the stove and the hair dryer and the toaster or else it'll blow a fuse sort of thing. So it's one of those things that's great at the time.
I am renting a very much starter apartment with my boyfriend right now in Toronto. Starter apartment being that it's quite old, and but it's really good rent. It's really cheap, but it's cheap for a reason, I think. So we're kind of excited to look into other opportunities when we can afford it.
When I was a bit younger, my mom would always say, I bought my first house when I was 23 and I paid for it in cash, and she did, and that was amazing, but that's not a reality anymore. It's a bit depressing sometimes when you think about, you go through school and you go through work and you didn't take any time off to travel, and, I worked part-time jobs throughout my entire life, and then you're still not able to sort of have the things that you were hoping to have, or that were sort of promised to you in some sort of way if you continue to, stick to the right path and do what you were told. So sometimes it's a bit depressing.
My dad bought a place back when he was 25, and it was in like the upper beaches and sort of Woodbine and Gerrard area, and it was a semi, and like 2 people working could afford to buy that. So I think that a lot of people do still look at it where it's like, well, when you're at a certain age, so you finish high school, you get the degree, and then maybe you get a postgrad, and then you get the job, and then you get the significant other, and you move in. It just seems like it's one of those steps. So I think that a lot of people do still look at it that way. I mean, I personally don't look at it that way as much. I mean, long term, it's always better off. It's usually better off owning something as opposed to renting. But I think that I am a bit more, in like kind of the minority where it doesn't have to be. It's like just because you don't own a house doesn't mean that you're any further behind or further.
down to and rest your head for just 5 minutes.
The concept of putting all of my spare money into a mortgage or into owning something is actually quite scary for me, because I feel like that means that the fun is over and I can't just pick up and go to Morocco this year, or I can't go to Sao Paulo next year or something like that.
Just because you can afford to buy a house doesn't mean necessarily should buy a house. So, like looking at my finances and our joint finances, we definitely could, not necessarily right now, but in sort of the not too distant future, own something. But like I said, I mean, if you're going to buy a shoebox, sort of, you need to do that just because a bank says you can buy it.